exists uh, alongside Brahman. And I wish to continue from there, where we stopped last time. And the question is pretty the same. So, if everything is in its essence Brahman, how is there a room for evil?
Okay, but I think, is there any specific question? Because the last time I explained you, I don't know if that you have any other questions regarding that, because I think this is a too generic question now, and last time we had it. So if you have any specific questions in that, we can start from there based on the explanation I gave last time. If you want to rebut that, tell me a rebuttal, ask that question, we can go from there as well.
Okay, all right. So we came at the point where we talked about the primordial state, and you have said that the primordial state is all Anand, and that all three aspects are in some way unified. And so my start point was different. My start point was from Sat to Chit to Anand, and you said that that is not correct, that primordial state is Anand. And let's take your standpoint as correct. Can you explain from that your standpoint how evil came in the world if everything was Anand?
So this is
And Anand is
first of all, this viewpoint is not my viewpoint. This is the viewpoint of Vallabhacharya and it is a viewpoint of Ved as well, based on my understanding. So just want to have a quick correction there that it is not my personal viewpoint.
okay.
A viewpoint which is mentioned in the Vedant, and and basically the Shrutis that in the Taittiriya Upanishad, the Shruti says that Anando Brahmeti Vyajanat. The Shruti also says that Anand, in the Vedant, in the Brahma Sutras written by Ved Vyasa, in the Brahma Sutras also it is written in Anandamayo Bhyasat. In that also the Anandamay uh, is referred to the Brahman, which is the primordial form of that Brahman, from which uh, the entire creation came into existence or manifested. So just clarifying this, that it is not my personal viewpoint, it is a Vedantic viewpoint, and it is the Brahma Sutras viewpoint, the Vedavyasa's viewpoint as well, from the Shuddhadvait perspective. Now, even Shruti also says Ananda Karapada Mukhodaradi. So that there also the Shruti says that the essential quality of that Brahman can um, can only be defined as Brahman is Anand and Anand is Brahman. So even to say Anand is a quality of Brahman, that would also not be an honest definition of the Brahman, because there is an absolute non-duality between Brahman and Anand. So even to say that Brahman is Anand, that also would not be fair, because the Brahman and Anand are one and the same thing, essentially. So sometimes we say that Brahman is with Sat, Chit, and Anand, as if that Brahman has acquired those as a qualities, as one of the qualities. But the reality is based on the Shrutis, based on the Ved. The reality is the Shruti in Taittiriya Upanishad itself says that Brahman is Anand, Anand is Brahman. There is no relation between a quality and a qualified. For example, when we say that I am brave, so that means that there is definitely some kind of duality between I and the being brave, the quality of being brave. Similarly, when we say Brahman is Anand, that is not what we refer by as a quality of Anand and the qualified being the Brahman. That's not what it should, that's not how it should be interpreted. The interpretation should be that the essential characteristics of Brahman is Anand and Anand is Brahman, as if that both are absolutely same. We should be thinking in that way based on this interpretation. So that is one, that is the basis of my belief and basis of my logic, that according to this praman, all this praman, I and Vallabha, my belief is based on Vallabhacharya's theory, and Vallabhacharya's theory is based on the foundation of Ved, and that is why I keep on saying that Brahman is Anand and Anand is Brahman. Thus, I tend to say when defining the essential characteristics of Brahman, it is Anand. Now, Anand is all encompassing. It can encompass everything. It can encompass the consciousness. It can also encompass the Sad aspect as well. And thus, in the spirit of the completeness, the holistic view of the Brahman in describing the whole, excuse me, describing the Brahman as a holistic phenomena, it will be it will be appropriate to call Brahman as Anand and Anand as Brahman. That's another reason. The third reason is in the Puran also the it is defined, the characteristics of Bhagavan in Puran is also defined as the one which is Anand as well. So thus these are the proofs, these are the evidences that I am using to justify the stand. Now, as far as the question of evil is concerned, within the Anand, as I mentioned last time, Anand is not something that you can define in terms of happiness or pain only. That is not the meaning of Anand. Anand is the bliss, isn't it, the bliss, the blissfulness. If you want to get a feel of it, of the blissfulness, then there are only few phenomena that you can use to get a feel of that happiness, or not the happiness, to get a feel of Anand. One is that when you are in a playful mood, when you are in a playful mood, and when you are doing certain things without any kind of reason or without any kind of uh, uh, expectations, and you are just doing something just for the sake of enjoyment, that's exactly that's some glimpse, some feeling of the Anand that you can get at that point of time. So thus Anand is, since Anand is all encompassing, and given you the example of a mother who, in spite of being in a pain, raises the baby, wakes up at the night, but still believes. But she doesn't think that it is pain, although it is physically painful. But emotionally, it is, for her, it is not painful. Similarly, there are various levels of pain and levels of happiness. There is a physical happiness like sexual happiness. there is a emotional happiness as well, and above that there is some other kind of happiness which is beyond the emotional happiness, which is a spiritual happiness. And then there is one more level of happiness or anand or blissfulness, which is above and beyond the spiritual world as well, which is at the level of brahmic level. And thus when you think of that type of level of blissfulness, you will be able to realize that whatever pain or happiness that you are considering at an individual level, no more remains pain or no more remains happiness. It all submerges into the ocean of blissfulness only. You understand? So that is why I used to say last time also, I emphasized in that a pain which is at a physical level may not be a pain at an emotional level, and a pain which is at the emotional level may not be a pain at the spiritual level. Do you see what I'm saying? So thus similarly the evil, an evil at a physical form may not be an evil at the emotional form. Similarly, the good, the bad, the evil and the good, all of these submerges into the ocean of bliss, because it is from the bliss only that an evil has emerged, and it is from the bliss only that a goodness has emerged. It is the bliss that has caused the manifestation of good spirits, and it is the same bliss from which it has the bad spirit has also emerged. The demons also has emerged from the same bliss, and the gods have also emerged from the same bliss of that Brahman. That is the belief of Vedant. This is the belief of Vedant. And even Puran also mentions that Vidya Vidya Hare Shaktau. The Vidya, the knowledge, is also power of that Brahman. And the nescience, do you understand the meaning of nescience?
Ignorance. It
Ignorance.
is ignorance.
Exactly. The ignorance is also the power of Brahman. So if you consider ignorance as a quality of evil, then it is also a power of Brahman. So this is based on the Upanishad, it is based on the Puran. Bhagavad Puran says this, the Vidya and Avidya. Even the Upanishad says, one Shruti Vachan of Upanishad also says that the person who always who always wants to be knowledgeable, sorry, let me retract. The Shruti says something like this. The Shruti says the person who is ignorant, who doesn't know much, he is definitely going to fall into the narak. You know the narak, right? What is narak?
Is it the hell?
Hell.
Something like hell.
Exactly, the type of hell. The person who chooses to remain ignorant, willingly chooses to remain ignorant, he is gonna go definitely in the hell. But a person who willingly chooses to only acquire the knowledge, he further gets into a deeper hell than the person who only chooses to remain ignorant. That is the Shruti, not me saying. That is the Upanishad who is saying that. Why? What is the gist of this Upanishad? The gist of the Upanishad is that you must not restrict or become narrow minded with only thinking that Brahman is only about good and only good, just like the Semitic religions. No, this is not our principle. Brahman, it is everything is emerged and manifested from that same Brahman. Even if you consider Satan, Satan is also considered as a manifestation of that Brahman only. And that's why the ignorance and the knowledge. Shruti teaches like this, that if you choose to acquire knowledge, very well, great, good job. But while acquiring the knowledge, don't forget that you are acquiring the knowledge on the basis of forgetting so many things to learn but one particular thing. Think about this logically. If you are asked to concentrate on one subject and learn one subject and gain knowledge, you are asked to forget rest of the 99% of the subjects that you have learned before. You are asked to ignore that. You are asked to to become ignorant about those things and just concentrate on one thing, right? So you cannot term that that forgetfulness as an ignorance and that as an evil. No, that's not an evil. So thus the Shruti says that whoever wishes to acquire the Brahma Jnana, whoever wishes to understand that Brahman, should not get restricted or narrow-minded to only thinking that a Brahman is all about goodness and goodness. He should also realize whatever the phenomena is going on, good or bad, it is his bliss. It is his divine play that has taken place. Then only that person will be able to do or will be able to justify the understanding of that Brahman. Otherwise, this is not Brahman. This is something else. This is the Semitic God. This is Semitic religion's God. This is not Vedant's Brahman. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes some sense. It makes some sense. However, it is a little bit difficult to grasp. I can mention one plastic example, like murder. How can murder in any way, in any sense, be good when one man kills another? That is evil, and it cannot be, it doesn't have any good effects, any good results. It is evil in itself.
Let me clarify one thing. Whenever we are living in a society, in a law of in a state of law, whenever we are living in a country or in a society or a community, we must ensure that we are following all the rules of morality, all the rules of righteousness, all the rules to to carry on our assigned responsibilities and duties. Whatever I just described before, this is not to to encourage the evil behavior in us. First of all, remember that whatever I explained you before was from the perspective of understanding the Brahman, not from the perspective of the manifestation of this Jagat or this universe. From our perspective, we should always follow the rules and regulations of our religious scriptures. And our religious scriptures are meant to make sure that we follow the right path of righteousness. So please make sure that you understand both of the two things. Two things are totally different what I'm trying to explain. At our level, the right we should always become, we should always we should always strive to become right, to follow in the right the path of righteousness. Okay, now what your question is that what if the person is murdered and the person murdering another person, he or she will be subjected to the scriptures, the scriptures which lays out what is a duty and what is not a duty, what is a sin and what is not a sin, and as per that he will be subjected to hell or a heaven. not a problem. I agree with that it has to follow these principles and the rules written in the religious scriptures. But from the Brahmic perspective, again, my answer is only from the Brahman's perspective. Think about it. A lion is killing a deer. Is that can
Yes.
that call be a murder?
Yes. According to me, yes, it is a murder.
But according
But
to the nature, it is not a murder.
it is. But
It is not a murder. It is how the nature has been.
according to nature,
You
yes, the nature behaves in that way. It is a food chain. It is a food chain in the nature. But that doesn't mean it is good,
you,
according to me,
even if
according to
you
my
inhale,
point of view.
even if you inhale, and
Yes.
even if you inhale the if you breathe, you are killing so many germs. You are killing
Yes.
so many germs by just inhaling the air. Is that a murder of
Yes.
germs?
That is also a murder. Yes.
Well, the Vedanta
Jains.
well, the Vedanta doesn't believe like that. It is the philosophy of Jainism and Buddhism. Then, if you believe
Yes.
like that, then it is a Jainism. Then if you go to that extent, you should not even live, because the fact that you are living, your existing itself is causing trouble to someone else. Do you understand? Because you are breathing, you should stop breathing, so that you do not cause any. Now, if you stop breathing, are you not cruel to yourself? If you stop breathing, you are cruel to yourself
I
then.
can.
See, this is not how it works. You understand? You think that even breathing is causing hinsa or violence. All right, then stop breathing.
Of
When you
course.
stop breathing, you cause the violence to yourself.
We must allow some amount of violence, but the minimum level of violence.
So
We can't
that is what I'm saying.
annihilate violence.
That is what I'm saying. You are defining from an anthropomorphical bias. What is minimum violence? Who are you to define for other animals that what is a minimum violence? You cannot define for other animals and species that what is a minimal violence. In the case of lion, he is absolutely that for him it is not even a violence, it is his food. So it is absolutely good
Yes.
for him. So broaden your perspective and come out from that anthropomorphical bias that a human beings has always been subjected to, and they suffer with this from anthropomorphical bias. From the Brahmic perspective,
Okay.
the Vedanta says, the Vedanta from the Brahmic perspective says that we have to up level our understanding for us to be able to understand the bliss of that Brahman. Otherwise, we will not be able to understand this, and we'll always be uh, continuously fighting with good versus bad, good and evil versus good. This continuous fight is not gonna lead us to anywhere, because even if you fight with evil, you are following the path of evilness, because you are fighting, and fighting is a quality of evil. Why do you have to even fight with evil? Why do you have to even uh, why do you even have to refute the evilness? Because by mere refuting the evilness, you are become evil, you are becoming evil.
I will only try to avoid evil and evilness.
But if you criticize evil, that's also evilness, because criticism is also quality of evilness. So you should not talk about evil, because moment you talk about evil, you become evil.
Okay. But we talk from philosophical perspective about evil.
I
We don't engage in evil.
I know, but still,
Uh,
there is a philosophical violence and there is a physical violence. There is a subtle violence and there is a gross violence. You cannot say that I am not doing any 0% violence. You cannot say that. There is a subtle violence, and that subtle violence is a form of evil, the subtlest form of violence. So think about this. If you exaggerate this to an extent that, oh my God, even criticizing an evil is an evil, what kind of psychology this type of philosophy will give you? It will give you depression.
mhm.
It will give you that you will not, it will take you to a path of darkness, because in avoiding the evil you're becoming dark. You see what I'm saying? So you're not relishing the phenomena, rather you are becoming too serious about things, and you're not relishing the the divine play then. And that is why the Vedanta always says, and that is why even Vallabhacharya ji says that, you know, when it comes to understanding the evilness and when it comes to understanding what is good and bad, everything will fall in its place and you will be able to realize the divine play only when you consider these two are the aspects of that same Brahman. They are not something different from Brahman. There is nothing like Semitic religions believe in different ways. Semitic religion says that there is a Satan and there is a God, and
Yes.
God and Satan can never be same and one and the same. Satan Satan manifested from whom then? Where did Satan come from?
Uh,
And even Satan came
God
from,
created him.
even the Satan somehow came. Why the God who is omni powerful is allowing to let Satan live? If God is omni powerful, then the God should have killed and not let Satan even exist. If he is
Yes, of
omni
course. Yes.
powerful, so we don't agree with Vedant itself doesn't agree to this dualistic perspective of there is a Satan and there is a God. We don't agree with this. This is a
Mhm.
dualistic perspective. And Vedant always has been foundation. For Vedant, it's the foundation's always been non-duality. That Satan and God are the creation of that Brahman. In Semitic religion, there is no concept of Brahman. No concept of Brahman. Semitic religion only has two concepts. One is the God, another is Satan. That's it. They don't have
Yes.
a concept of Brahman.
And they believe that God created Satan or devil. So the devil is creature of God in Semitic religions.
Well, if God created Satan, why did God become cruel? God is cruel. If he created Satan to trouble us,
Satan was at first an angel who fell down from the sky and became evil. That is the story, the Christian story of the Satan.
but everything happens with the will of God. Yes or no?
Yes, God created him. God, he
No.
is God's creature.
My question is not that creation. My question is not about
No,
creation. My question is about, do Semitic religion believe that everything happens with the will of God? Yes or no?
yes, I think yes,
Okay,
they
if that's
do.
the case, if the Satan is existing, if an angel becomes Satan, whose wish was it? Whose will was it? God's will. And God allowed him to become Satan from
Evil.
angel. Why? And if God himself allowed,
I don't know.
then why God is using Satan then? You see, so that's a problem.
Mhm.
And God is no more a God, because God should be nice. God should be always like caring for others. God should be compassionate. But seems like God is not. God is same as Satan, and Satan is same as God. Even
Mhm,
God,
mhm.
God, as per them, is a dangerous phenomena, even compared to Satan. Then, because God is not telling you upfront that I am not, I have created Satan, but Satan is telling you that I am Satan. Be aware of me. So Satan is very honest. God is not being honest in the religion. It is God
Yes,
created
I
Satan.
understand.
God created Satan. Now Satan is telling you that I am bad, and God is not telling you that I have created Satan, and God is getting all the benefits from we all. How bad that God is? A cruel God, a God who is not compassionate, and on the top of it, God is not honest to us. And so we don't believe like
Yes, yes, yes.
the way Vedanta doesn't believe like that.
Okay. That problem of philo is one of the most difficult philosophical problems, and it is very hard to grasp the, the, the fact of existence of evil from every point of view. It is not easy to comprehend it fully. But I remember in our previous talks, uh, I had an idea that what is cause of evil, and I said that maybe the cause of evil is the lack of Anand, concealment of Anand. Then when Anand becomes unmanifested, that creates the room for evil. Uh, am I on the right track? It doesn't make any sense. So when Brahman starts to conceal his
But
attributes, his qualities, or
but
his parts,
but
and
the problem in this is, again, you are assuming that bliss is good, or only good. Bliss is not evil. The problem
this,
is there's a presumption in your mind, and the presumption in your mind looks like you are still getting stuck with the anthropomorphic bias that bliss is has to always to be good. That's not the case.
why not?
You're presuming that presumption
But by
cannot
def,
hold true. This is what I'm trying to tell you.
but by definition, Anand is bliss, is joy, is happiness, and I think
No,
there is no room for evil in Anand.
no, that's wrong. That's again, I'm trying to tell you again. Joy, the Anand is not joy, just mere joy. Anand is not just mere joy. Again, I'm telling you this.
Why
That's
not?
not the meaning of Anand. That's not the meaning of bliss. If you are understanding, if you want to understand the meaning of bliss as per the scriptures and not as per the dictionary created by Britishers, that's not the meaning of bliss. What you just said, you just told. You should always understand the meaning of Anand based on the definition given by Ved. And the
Okay,
Ved has given the definition is not in terms of joy and 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 pain. That is
Hap-
not how it defines Anand. Again, Anand is yatra. Anand is as per the Ved. It defines that yat, the place where Sad and Asad meets, the place where happiness and pain meets, the place where good and bad meets, that place is called as Brahman, or that place is called as Anand. This is the definition of the Anand or slash Brahman in Ved. So you are again presuming that presumption is wrong.
I have troubles accepting it, that there is room for evil in Anand, in Brahman. It is hard to me to accept that idea. I always thought that Anand is pure bliss, pure joy, pure goodness, perfection, and so on. I never thought that it also includes evil and pain and so on. So maybe I was my understanding was not according to Vedas. My understanding maybe was not aligned
So
with the Vedic
let,
tradition.
let me again correct you. What I meant to say was, an evil is a manifestation of that same bliss, as the same that happiness is a manifestation of same bliss. Happiness is a manifestation or a form of that bliss. Pain is also same manifestation of that bliss. Both of them has manifested from the bliss, and the bliss is
Mhm.
Brahman is bliss. Again, you are trying to think Brahman's quality as the bliss being only just quality of that Brahman. That's not the case. Bliss equals to Brahman equals to bliss. Just do it, just remember that equation in your mind.
Okay.
And now when Vedant says Ananda dev khalvimani bhutani jayante anandena jatani jivanti anandam prayanti abhisamvishanti tadva jigyasasva tad brahman. It is from where this whole good and bad has emerged, from that Anand, the bliss.
Mhm.
The good and bad are situated within the bliss, and the good and bad are going to ultimately get dissolved in this bliss. That bliss is called as Anand. That bliss is called as Brahman. That's the Taittiriya Upanishad saying this.
Mhm.
So again, don't. It is not. I think your brain is saying that in your brain you have an idea that it is a summation of evil and happiness. So as if you are making a formula in your mind that Anand equals to evil plus happiness or evil plus good. Don't. That's not a correct formula. Again,
Okay.
you cannot say
I
that.
equate.
You
Okay.
always, you have to think in other way. The other way is same as the Jagat has manifested from Brahman. In only part of that Brahman has manifested into Jagat. The rest of the Brahman is still uh, pervades. It is beyond the imagination. Similarly, that bliss, only certain part of that bliss has manifested into the evil, and a certain part of bliss has manifested into goodness in this world. But the bliss still is above and beyond the evilness and goodness. Similarly, as the relationship between the Jagat and the Brahman. Same thing applies to bliss. This is what I was trying to
Mhm.
say, by the way.
Okay. Again, it is very hard for me to accept that. It is very hard. Um, I had I have that theory that again maybe I'm boring while repeating that again and again, but I conceive that Anand is pure goodness. I cannot accept evil in it, and that is problem why I cannot. Uh, that is the reason why I cannot accept the Vedantic point of view, where evil is also emerged from Brahman. I thought that, and I thought that Vedantic point of view is different, that Anand is pure goodness, pure perfection, joy, and so on and so forth. The reason why we disagree is because I didn't know the Vedantic perspective, and you now explained it to me thoroughly. I now understand that perspective, but again, it is hard to me to accept it. That is short. That is in short the whole story about
And this is also,
our conversation.
and this is again, this is bliss. Ignorance is also bliss, and the knowledge is also bliss. And the things that you don't understand is also bliss, and the things that you understand is also bliss. The things that you understand in a different way is also bliss, and a thing that is the things that you understand very well is also bliss. So based on our bliss theory, the theory of bliss, I am blissful, I am fine. I am completely fine with you not understanding or not accepting this. It's completely fine. It is bliss again.
uh, and can you tell me if there is another theory where how to say that states that claims there is only good in Brahman? If that kind of theory exists within Indian philosophy and Indian religion, and if it exists, what is that theory? Is it Ramanujas or Shankaras or Madhvas or some different philosopher?
So Shankaracharya ji
If
doesn't
you know what I mean.
Shankaracharya ji doesn't believe in the first place that Brahman has these kind of qualities, including bliss. Brahman is
Mhm.
devoid of all the qualities, doesn't have any qualities. And bliss is one of the qualities,
Nirguna Brahman.
Nirguna Brahman. So the question doesn't arise there because all the evilness and happiness is a product of Maya, Avidya Maya, Avidya Rupa Maya.
Mhm.
It is not a product of Brahman. But the question again comes back to the same point. Why the heck Maya creates, why the heck the Maya creates good and bad? You protect Brahman. All right, protect Brahman. But the question again comes to the same point. Who inspires Maya to create good and bad? Brahman. And the question is same. So there is, you cannot get away from that by proposing this type of theory that Brahman is devoid of everything. Brahman is not responsible for anything. I must protect Brahman from evilness, and thus I am gonna propose a theory uh, that Brahman can never have any quality, and thus I will be 100% sure that my Brahman will be protected. No, the Brahman will still be not protected. So that's a Shankar's theory. Madhva's theory,
Okay.
Madhvacharya's theory says that the essential quality, the raw material of the evil is not Brahman. Meaning, even the Jagat, even the creation the raw material used in creating this Jagat, that raw material is different from Brahman. Brahman has not become raw material, which Vallabhacharya says that Brahman has become raw material as well as the Nimitta Karan of creation. We believe in Abhinna Nimitta Upadan Karanvad, the theory of Abhinna Nimitta Upadan, meaning there is no, the same Brahman serves as an essential cause as well as the Nimitta cause, substantial cause as well as the cause through which the
Okay.
creation manifests. So substantial cause also we believe. Madhvacharya doesn't believe Brahman is a substantial cause. Instead, Madhvacharya believes that Brahman's power has substantiated into creation. The Shakti has, it is due to the power of that Brahman the creation has manifested. So again the and Madhvacharya says that uh, Madhvacharya says that Madhvacharya has a Dvaitavad, dual, the theory of duality. So he can say
Yes,
that,
Vallabha Vedanta.
yeah, he can say that all that is good is not God, the good is only about God. The question still comes: why the God is letting the evil prevail? Why? In the theory of duality also, the theory of duality has even a more problems to justify to answer. Madhvacharya ji has a lot to answer in the principle of duality, in the theory of duality. And in the principle of the duality, the Brahman ceases to exist as Brahman. If we go into certain extent of questioning his theory, the Brahman ceases to exist as a Brahman. So there are a lot of problems in the theory of duality. As I told you, in the Semitic religion also, it's a duality. That a Satan is not Brahman, Brahman is not Satan. God is not Satan, Satan is not God. The same problem exists
Yes.
in the theory of duality in Madhvacharya. What is the
What about?
what is the cause? What is the cause of suffering?
Yes,
The cause of suffering.
that's
The cause of suffering then. Number one option is cause of suffering ultimately. Number one option, it could be that you can attribute all the cause of suffering to the Brahman. That's number one option. Number two option is the cause of suffering is the Jeev, the soul itself. The soul is doing certain things and it is the responsible of bearing the consequences. That's number two option. Correct? Number three option is
yes.
neither the God is responsible for suffering nor the soul is responsible. It is like it is the way it is. This is how the things work. That's it. You cannot question. That's the number third option. Now
Mhm.
the rest of the two options have a lot of problems, because if you think that the cause of suffering is because of the only and only because of the wrongdoings of the individual soul, if you think like that, then 100% if the soul is only responsible for cause of the suffering, then tell me one thing: when soul for the first time came into the existence, he, there were no previous births of that soul. When first time he came into existence, the very first time, then
Yes,
by which actions from his previous birth he caused he came into the world, because he did not bear any births before. This is his first entry into the world.
correct.
Then who then who who was responsible to bring him in this world? Which actions? Because he never took any actions, he never got a chance to take any action. Who did that then? They don't have any answer.
Correct. Yes, you are right. You are right. So, as I said before, this problem of evil is definitely one of the most difficult in the philosophy and also in theology. And I don't know if any system can resolve that problem, including even non-orthodox philosophies like Buddhism and Jainism. I think they also cannot completely answer to the question why evil exists and who created the evil and that type of questions. I think they cannot answer.
That is why Upanishad says that understanding the Brahman, you will understand everything. If you don't understand Brahman, you will never get an answer. And thus all the acharyas says that the answer only can be found by understanding that Brahman. Because Brahman is ultimately responsible for everything, because everything has emerged from Brahman. And everything is sustained in Brahman. And everything will get dissolved into Brahman. So the short answer, if you ask Upanishad,
Mhm.
the answer is understand Brahman. You'll get answers for all.
Okay. We could continue to talk for hours about this topic, this theme, but we don't have time. We don't have much time. So we can, you can conclude with some thought, with some sentence, this topic for today.
I just concluded that the all the answers can only be
Mhm.
understood and sought. All the answers to the questions, all the questions can be resolved as per the Vedantic philosophy by understanding that Brahman. Otherwise, not possible. Not possible. This is my conclusion based on the Vedantic principle. Now, you may call me as I am prejudiced towards Vedant. You can call it like that, but we define Brahman as the whole, as all encompassing. We do not define Brahman in a particular narrow sense. Brahman is all encompassing, from which everything has emerged, everything is sustained within, and everything will get dissolved. Thus, Vacharambanam vikaro mritika ityeva satyam. The Shruti says that just like by understanding the raw material mud, from which all the names, forms, and functions, like the pot created out of mud, the house created out of mud, the things created out of that mud, gets understood. By just merely understanding mud, you can understand all the names, forms, and functions out of that mud. Same way, by understanding Brahman, you can understand everything. If you don't understand Brahman, you cannot understand anything, because the raw material, which is mud, if you don't understand that, you cannot understand the products of that mud. That is the
Mhm.
conclusion I am making for the sake of our
Okay.
discussion.
So we may have some insights in the problem of evil by contemplating about Brahman, because Brahman is ultimately the source of everything that exists. Is that what did you want to say?
Yes.
Okay, then we can end our talk for today and schedule for next time. Schedule a meeting for next time.
Okay.
When do you want? to talk again. If you want to talk again.
We can talk again next week, same time, same day.
So Sunday next week.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine with me. So see you and hear you then. And good